A great word for it. Over 100 demonstrably false claims, lies if you will, President Trump has made since becoming president. The results of that exercise demonstrates the regularity of President Trump's inaccuracies, exaggerations, and outright falsehoods. In fact, most of them are. Noting that it would be the height of naivete to imagine he's merely making honest mistakes. He is lying. That's the New York Times talking. They find that President Trump has, quote, said everything untrue in public every day for the first 40 days of his presidency. And since then, he said something untrue on at least 74 of 113 days. It's like the Phillies' losing record here. Here's a look at just a few of the examples. Jesus.
Here's a picture of the crowd. Now, the audience was the biggest ever, but this crowd was massive. Look how far back it goes. When you look at the people that are registered, dead, illegal, and 2 states, and some cases maybe 3 states, we have a lot to look into. I guess it was the biggest electoral college win since Ronald Reagan. The murder rate in our country is the highest it's been in 47 years, right? Did you know that? China will be allowed to build hundreds of additional coal plants. So we can't build the plants, but they can, according to this agreement.
Well, the piece in the New York Times yesterday concludes that the president, quote, is trying to create an atmosphere in which reality is irrelevant. I am so right with it. I'm so into that. I'm joined right now by the Hardball Roundtable tonight. Sabrina Siddiqui, political reporter at The Guardian. Jason Johnson, politics editor at The Root and an MSNBC political analyst. And Paul Singer, Washington correspondent at USA Today. Paul, you're first. I think they've got something there. I think the supporters of Trump, somewhere between 35 and 40%, who stick with him hell and high water, don't give a damn or a rat's ass, whatever you want to say about whether he said something true or not. They don't care.
They didn't vote for the guy with the right facts. They voted for the guy with the right mood.
Yeah.
And he got the mood right of the country. And if you got the mood right, who cares if the facts are all wrong? And besides which,
he shoots facts on Fifth Avenue, to use his old reference. He just shoots facts dead. Sabrina.
Look, the greatest challenge with this is people becoming numb to the president not telling the truth. This is the highest office in the land, and the fact that they lack credibility, that not just the president, but whoever gets up behind that podium, the press secretary, that you can't believe, every other thing that might come out of their mouth, that's deeply problematic, not just for the public's trust in the office, but also for how our allies view us around the world.
How do you write a straight news story when you have to quote a president every day like that's called straight reporting, Jason? And it's called objective reporting. I'm not sure it is objective. If you sit down and write down everything Trump says as if it means something factually, aren't you being duped? I know it's very hard to say this because you're supposed to write as a paper of record. You got to write down what he says, but it doesn't relate to reality.
Right. Well, that's one of the reasons why they're trying to get rid of recording equipment, at the daily press briefings, because they don't like the actual record being there of the number of times that either Trump or the people who represent him end up lying. It makes it incredibly difficult because journalism, in fact, covering all politics is based on a minimal idea that politicians may only lie about 1 or 2 things. He lies about everything, which makes it almost impossible.
Like, just take today. Just take the ball. He said today that Obama, his predecessor, is responsible for somehow colluding with the Russians when they interfered in our election. Split second before, he said there was no Russian interference in our election.
Right.
He does a 180, and it doesn't seem to offend his peeps.
But if you've tracked Trump at all over the years, this has always been his style. He just talks. He just says what he thinks at the moment. He doesn't care if it's true. And by the way, what's his brand? How rich is he? How's he doing in business? He just makes those things up on the spur of the moment.
So how do you report on this guy, Sabrina?
Well, you say
how do you write down what he says when you know it doesn't mean anything?
Well, the responsibility of the media is still to hold people in power accountable and to not just let these misstatements slide. I think that also, you have to remember that his success is contingent upon creating this alternate reality. Kellyanne Conway infamously said alternative facts, but the media still has a responsibility to report the facts and present the truth to the American public, and to hope that there are more people who are watching and taking seriously the office he now holds than just a campaign where a lot of people were disenchanted by both of their choices.
Is anybody offended by the fact you spent 8 years calling Obama an illegal immigrant?
Well, there's lots of people who are offended by it. That's the thing. It's like, and that's where the lying starts. It's like, if you can lie about where a president is from, and then stick with it.
No evidence. I've got investigators down in Hawaii coming up with some very interesting stuff. BS!
And then he pretends that he feels bad about it. It's like, if he would just show me, if he would just show, I'm worried about Obama.
Okay,
like,
well, we're sticking back with this unflappable president. Anyway, up next, these three will tell me something I don't know, which actually will be true what they tell me. It's revolting. Anyway, thank you. The Hardball, where the action is.